Hi, everyone. Hi, happy to see all of you. Let's just double check the connection. I can't really see how many people have joined. So I will ask anyone who have joined us to send us a comment mentioning if you can hear us well, if you can see us well. I'm not sure there's a chat. I'm not sure I can actually see comments. Amazing. Thank you, artists, for letting us know that you can hear us and see us. Welcome, everyone. To all of you who is listening to us today, please don't be shy. Use this comment section as much as you want. Send us questions, send us emojis, happy, sad, disturbed. Just let us know how you feel so that, we feel connected. We'll also have like a 10-15 minute session at the end of the webinar or discussion where we'll make sure to answer all of your questions. Also, to all of you who is listening to the recording and who is not with us today, please do the same thing. If there is a comment section, please ask questions. We'll make sure to get back to you with answers. So, those of you who are with us today, let me tell you, we're lucky people who will get the freshest insights into the two most discussed topics of 2021, probably 2020 as well, and 2022 for sure, which is new ways of working, employee well-being, and cybersecurity. And not only will you learn what happened in 2021, you'll be treated, and I'm not afraid to say that, you will be treated with predictions and suggestions for 2022, so for this year, to make sure you keep yourself and your team cyber, productively, and emotionally safe. Now, will I be the one telling you about mental well-being at work, stress-related things at work, work-life balance, working models, cyber threats, employee monitoring, password hygiene? Obviously not. I have no idea. I know some parts. I'm definitely not a pro at all of these things. I will be just like you, sponging the information from the two gentlemen you see on the screen, Thomas and Gerald. Why them, you might ask? Well, Tom is the SLO at DeskTime, a time tracking app. And for many people, and for me personally, a go-to person when it comes to advice regarding productivity, whether it's your personal productivity or your team's productivity. He is the person you should contact. Maybe don't contact him on LinkedIn, that will be weird, but you're always free to drop a question at DeskTime LinkedIn profile. And let me tell you, I've never seen him tired or exhausted. He's always on top of things effortlessly. So hi, Tom, happy to see you here. Thank you for joining us.
Hi everyone. Thank you for the honest welcome, and great to see how it works out today, what we will discuss.
It should be super. I'm super excited about this webinar. Anyways, our second speaker is Gerald, and Gerald is running sales and business development divisions at NordSecurity. Well, what is NordSecurity? For those of you who don't know, is the leading provider of online privacy and security tools, where Gerald is actually focusing on the growth of NordPass, which concentrates on passwords security, if I'm correct. Please, Gerald, tell me if I'm not. And on NordLocker, which is a cloud for your files, for your photos, for your memories, basically a cloud for everything you need to store and store securely. Apart from all of that, Gerald has a decade experience in sales, business operations, tunnel deployment strategies and SaaS solutions, as well as expertise in cybersecurity, which, to be honest, it's the most exciting part I've read in your bio. I'm super excited about that one. So hi, Gerald, happy to see you here.
Hi, Alvina. Hey, everyone. It's good to be here, and I look forward to spending the next 55 minutes of quality time together and talking about a couple of the key aspects around cybersecurity, about hybrid work environments, and so on.
Thank you. And lastly, me, my name is Alvina. I'm the head of Isobar Latvia, a creative agency. I know a lot about burnouts, about stress at work. I know slightly less about how to deal with all of that. And I know absolutely nothing about cybersecurity apart from, don't make your password 123. But in terms of burnouts, I'm definitely a pro. And I feel it's because my work-life balance and my habits have drastically changed since 2020, and probably even more last year. Tom, is that something you see in data? Have there been changes in habits since 2020, and have they changed in 2021 comparing to 2020?
Oh yeah, this is huge topic that we have talking about 2 years already, and habits are changing all the time. But this past year being some kind of set of a new normal that we can see now, and we have landed in some kind of environment that we see the real new normal of the employee lives, of our lives now, how we will work. And yes, the biggest change, of course, is the remote work and hybrid work. And from employee well-being, what is important, what we will talk more about today, is that employees are, or not only the employees, also the managers, also the CEOs and all who works, just work more, much more, I would say much more, and don't take breaks. So they are in the line for the burnouts, for bad work-life balance.
This trend does not sound good. This new normal does not sound healthy.
It does not, yeah. It's so we are here and we try to cover the topics and educate our readers of our blog posts and our users of the time tracking app how to better manage your time and make the work-life balance better.
Okay, that sounds like we'll have a lot of things to discuss today. Gerald, have you seen any changes? Are there like habits? Probably not, but there are probably changes in habits in terms of businesses, right? I mean, we're all working from home. It cannot be as secure as working from the office, right?
Sadly, yes. COVID had quite a huge impact on the world altogether, and cybersecurity was obviously not excluded from that. So we actually seen over 141% increase in cybersecurity attacks globally compared to the pre-COVID times also, and a whopping 400% increase since the lockdown has started with people receiving fraudulent emails. So this just exposing how much more bad things we're receiving from outside of the world when it comes to ransomware attacks and fraudulent emails, phishing attacks, and so on. So what pandemic did, it opened the floodgates, exposing companies and the lack of cybersecurity tools those companies have available for those organizations. And probably it is important to note as well that majority of the cybersecurity attacks that happen, those are related to human factor. And the reason behind it itself, we can see that 85% of cybersecurity attacks that happen have a human behind it. So, and when I say human behind it, the exposure into the organizations come through humans like me and you as well. So COVID, yes, didn't look nicely on cybersecurity of the organizations.
Also does not sound great, to be honest. When you say personal, does it mean the personal data was stolen, or are they more kind of for the business? Are they stealing business information, or are they stealing personal information, or both? How is
both.
That? Oh, both.
It's both. Like the human factor itself, having exposure to the organization through a person that is working remotely, for instance, as Tom has mentioned, it makes it easier for cyber hackers, for instance, to gain access into the organization. So for cyber attack to gain my information, for them, they'll probably won't benefit as much. So the victim mostly is the business itself. So through users that don't have cybersecurity tools implemented in their home environment itself, and they're exposing the organization that they work for into cybersecurity incidents, attacks, ransomware attacks, and obviously that has an actual dollar value at the end of it that company loses.
Okay, so it seems like both businesses and people are impacted. I would really like us to go slightly deeper into the information of like how people and businesses are impacted. Like Tom, you've mentioned that people are working for longer hours. Does it mean does that affect businesses, and does it affect businesses in a good way or in a bad way? Like the fact that people are not taking breaks anymore.
Yeah, that's a good question. And actually, there are two answers because from the one side, business owners, managers would think that working more is good for their businesses because we can get more work done. Everything is going great and we have things to do. But the other side, what we don't see at this moment, but we will see just in, I don't know, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, maybe, it depends on the people, is the burnout of people, how it just also hits for the businesses, for the business we work. So in general, we recommend, and what we have put together is that it's a bad thing that people work more. It's generally definitely a bad thing. So yes, for the past years, we see that time at work is almost doubled, especially the time that people spend without breaks is doubled, and breaks are less, and they are not shorter, but they are shorter during the day. Yes, in the end, it just goes with burnout of people, with also goes together with work-life balance that is not great. It's not good even. People work more. They just not only taking their breaks, so their activities, they're not moving around, but also families lose time with these people who work more. So it's putting all together, you're not as productive as you were before at work, and you are not as satisfied with work and family as well. So it's definitely a bad thing that people work too much.
Okay, so losing both people and companies, right?
Exactly.
Which is why people are leaving works as they never did before.
Yeah, so leaving work, also there is, we know about Great Resignation in the US. So this is partly covered because of the burnouts of our everyday lives, and of course also part of the situation with the pandemic itself. But the part about the work-life balance or burnout, this is because of the time management, which we try to educate and suggest people how to better manage your time. And also we try to educate managers how to manage their teams and companies' time. So people just do the right things at right times and don't burn out and keep the good work-life balance.
Yeah, and don't just leave the company.
Of course.
Which leaving, again, it's a lot of cost for the company, right? And I assume whenever someone, especially at the leading position, changes places, am I right to say it's also not that secure in terms of like cybersecurity, because people are moving? It's not like you have a new person coming into the office, you have a completely new person who is working from home, meaning new computer. Is there any impact like that in the cybersecurity world, or is that something I just came up with?
Definitely. And before I jump into that, I just want to kind of add on to what Tom has said. I completely agree, and it seems like a couple of points that Tom has mentioned, it seemed like he was talking about me. I think many of us been at the receiving end of it, right? Meaning that we go through ups and downs. You know, we get locked down, then we get freedom, then we get another lockdown, and it has a toll on our mental health, and you know, we shouldn't be ashamed to talk about it. So definitely that's a huge focus for the future. We probably learn to live with it now, but that overworkiness and people not being able to take the break because you're kind of sitting by next to your laptop, that's we've probably been victims of it, every single one of us. And then moving on to the cybersecurity aspect, completely. Tom has mentioned that we transition into a hybrid work environment now. And what this achieved, sadly, it left the companies exposed and underprepared, because obviously it's completely unprecedented. Not a single organization has been prepared to have that many people suddenly working from home or having that hybrid work environment itself, where half of people suddenly start working from home. And firstly, organizations were underprepared in terms of protecting their network and their data. So even now, I'm working from home, and for me to access the company data itself, we talked about human beings being the receiving end of exposure for cyber criminals. So if I don't have a network protection accessing my company data, someone could easily come intrude my data via the email and via the web, access my company information if I don't have a secure network protection itself. So that's an important factor that a lot of companies didn't have in place before. Secondly, we should focus on actual password management as well. That's the biggest thing. And we talk to customers on a daily basis. And unfortunately, majority of no matter how small or big organization is, they don't have cybersecurity tool in terms of protecting their passwords, like NordPass, for instance. They tend to save passwords in Office documents or just on sticky notes or Word document and send them across via the email. This is a complete exposure of the organization and the risk and lack of cyber resilience. And this also goes back into the security incidents I previously mentioned as well, that happened over the last couple of years since the COVID has started. So it is important to outline that those incidents especially had a big toll on small to medium businesses. And the research has been carried out, and unfortunately, believe it or not, around 60% of SMB businesses, so small to medium businesses, don't actually recover after a data breach incident because monetary damage they suffered, it was too big for them to recover afterwards. And even in the US alone, that hybrid work environment during the COVID times, it saw the increase in data breaches when it cost is related to it by around $137,000. So this might not be a huge sum of money for large or enterprise organization, but for small business, this kills businesses.
Do you mind clarifying? I'm just curious to find out, like, what kind of information can be stolen to affect business in such a big scale that they cannot recover? Is it like, it cannot be just client information, right? Because, well, what is it?
It can be anything. It can be anything that could be stored, let's say, on the server in the organization. So most of larger companies, for instance, or even smaller companies, it could be even worse, but the data is actually kept on workstations. So by sophisticated ransom attackers, hackers, for instance, to gain access into my laptop, if I don't have protections in place and I'm using unsecure passwords like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, to hack that type of passwords, it would take under 1 second for the hacker. And then to guess passwords on my laptop, etc., and so on, to gain access over the data itself, it'll be very simple. It'll probably be hard for me because I'm not tech savvy enough, but then for cyber criminals, it's quite easy. And then obviously, if we're talking about customer data, then suddenly you have regulations come into place like GDPR in Europe, for instance. And the fines that the organization could suffer because of that, the loss of reputation also, because we know how social media, how public everything is. So a hack into the organization, it could actually have tremendous damage to their reputation, affecting their sales and the growth of the company.
So I'm sure because there were some incidents and many businesses went, bankrupt because of that. Some companies saw an opportunity to develop new tools or new services. Is that something you did? are there any tools? How is the situation being solved that we're currently living in? How is it treated?
Well, it's a good question, right? And it's $1 million type of question. So firstly, companies, like I said, it exposed the companies. So a lot of the companies that actually suffered a ransomware attack of some sort, they started looking at the tools slightly a day or so too late, right? Because they already suffered the actual monetary damages to themselves. But they want to make sure that doesn't happen again, right? So that's where they start looking at tools like our solutions, the password management solution, in order to protect the sensitive passwords and the data. Then they start looking at tool that protects the network. Like we have NordLayer solution, for instance, that provides secure gateway to the companies and organizations, providing security to the users that work remotely, work from home also. So you have that protection of VPN, virtual private type of network protection for remote users, for instance. So the silver lining of it, obviously, companies started paying a lot more attention to it. And of course, cybersecurity organizations jumped into it. We've been around for over 10 years. So for us, we just carry on doing what we're doing, educating organizations, no matter the size, and making sure that they implement tools before it is actually too late.
Okay. So there are tools, and companies can make sure they're more secure by implementing those new tools.
DeskTime is one of the companies that started to use NordPass, and we are happy with that. And it came just before the COVID. So we were not those who saw the issues by starting working remotely and growing up, but this was a great way that we see how it now grows. And we don't want to be under those companies which just have those new employees on new computers and growing remote stuff that doesn't know how to share the passwords and type those basically publicly. So yeah, we are one of the great customers, happy customers of NordPass who uses and are happy to the easy use of password manager. We use though only for the password manager management at the moment, but really great tool and great feeling that it's so easy to share securely the passwords with the colleagues or the credit card information, everything, and you don't need to just send it the picture of the credit card in the email or Slack channel or something.
Yeah, and it's great to hear. And just to add on top of that as well, I think that's where we get a lot of times when we talk to the customers or prospects of ours, we get two types of conversations. One of them, it could be a company like DeskTime where they are a forward-thinking company and they just want to make sure that the protection is there and they're thinking ahead. Then we have companies that might have had an attack of some sort, could be no matter how small or big, and they just want to prevent it from happening. And a lot of times, I just saw a recent research also where companies believe that password management solution is not necessarily a necessity or should be free or cheap or whatnot. And I think all comes down to the value it adds and then realization how much it can cost to the organization compared to the cost of what the loss of the data would cost itself, including loss of workforce as well, as we work in a hybrid environment now, as Tom's has mentioned a couple of times.
Yeah, right. And I mean, whether it's losing data, losing money, or losing people, these are all huge minuses for the company. And I guess people and workers knowing that their passwords are at least secure, they also feel a bit less stress, right? Because they don't have to worry, hey, I'm going to the cafe to work. Maybe I should not worry. I will not be as worried. So maybe that makes their lives a bit easier.
And Alvina, it goes into productivity as well, because ultimately, a lot of people in the organizations, right, it might not be their passwords, it might not be their data, their tools, or their money that the company would be losing. So maybe an employee might not care at a certain large organization. But it goes into productivity as well, how easy it is for that user to have access to their data, how easy it is for them to log in without having to request a password somewhere or having to request changes over the password if I forgot my password. So it goes into the productivity and happiness of the person also.
That's
the
true.
organization.
That's absolutely true. Tom, I am sure because, well, there is obviously a big thing about security and making sure employees are secure, but people are also looking to, ensuring, as you said, time management is correct and employee well-being. Were there any new tools developed, or were there just more interest in time management tools? How is it going? How are you? Is there a coping mechanism within the industry is what I'm trying to ask. And is it developing to ensure people are less burning out, or just the interest growing with the available tools as with cybersecurity?
Yeah, well, the industry and is growing. Like the time tracking and time management in general is like a huge topic, as well as the security for NordPass and and the cybersecurity in general. The time management is a huge niche where we just now in the COVID times, the new normal times, we see how many companies actually didn't think about that before. So we, the same as Gerald said, they saw the increase in different numbers. We saw the same increase from need of understanding what's exactly happening in their businesses, in their daily lives of their employees. Because one thing is that we come to the office and we see time to time our colleagues there, and we receive reports of what we have done during the day or week or month. But the other thing is the actual data of how do we get to those reports, for example. And then the biggest shock, I would say, is now that we see how much time it takes us to work and to prepare those reports and stuff like that. And this is from one side a bad thing that businesses didn't know or acknowledge or didn't think about that before, but it's better later than never that we start thinking about that and start implementing tools like and manage our times. Just for example, the hybrid work is now very popular, or remote work, whichever. When we are not in the office or we work flexible hours, we can do our day and structure our day as we want, basically. And the biggest thing and the biggest thanks to us, what we receive in social media or emails, is that with now they actually can see and prove how much time they have spent working. And that's the thing that we can start analyze our work. And what I mentioned before, that the overworking, overtimes, and many hours without the breaks is a bad thing. And now when you actually see the data of, we can now manage that. We can manage time and decide when to stop working, when to take a break, and stuff like that. And yes, that's like a general how what's changed and how businesses see it now, and start looking for tools. So of course, if we see a demand in some kind of tool, then we see new tools as well, which are working to create options for employees, flexibility and time management and stuff like that.
Do you think it will, like, this trend will continue this year, next year? Is it like a truly new normal, or is it something that will stay with us for like another year and a half? How do you think it looks?
Yeah, it's really challenging to predict further future, but definitely I would think, and also from reading all the literature, what big companies are planning, and seeing how big companies or even smaller companies like us, for example, we are called as a small company still, but we don't have full office with desks for all our employees, because some part is working remotely constantly, some part is hybrid working, so we don't need desks. So we are hot desking at the moment. And also, I think it will stay for a very long time. I don't know, is it 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years, or forever? Future will show, but definitely will stay for a long time. And it's just first year when we have started to really think of that. If 2020 was still thinking about, I will get back to the office and everything will be as it was before, then 2020 showed that no, the new normal is here and the hybrid work is the new normal, and office workers are the least percentage at the moment from the industries that can work remotely. Yeah, so definitely it will stay. So we need to think about time management. We need to think about work-life balance. We need to think about the cybersecurity. We need to think about all these topics which are important in our lives to work healthy and securely.
Okay, so let's just try to go even slightly more deeper, because I'm sitting here, I'm a team lead, I'm thinking, great, we have so many problems, it's even worse than I thought. My passwords are no good, I have no password security. My team is definitely overworking, and just telling them stop overworking, please guys, it's not worth it, it's not helping. And I'm sure that will be the question that many people will ask. And I definitely have this question in my head right now. What should I do? Like, could you give me like 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps that I should definitely do in terms of both like cybersecurity and time management? So is it installing tools? Is it, what is it? What would be your suggestions for everyone like me and my team?
Well, firstly, definitely the tools is the answer. The question is how many tools. Cybersecurity, time management, definitely are different tools, but time management is also a complex thing that, for example, here at DeskTime, as I mentioned, that in our office, we are hot desking. So we are importing this new feature. We are creating new feature, launching it very soon, which will help us to book a table in our office, and I can come and work with the table I have booked. So this is better for our employees to plan the office days when they want to come, and we don't need the tables for everyone if we see that they are not used. So many other features as well in one tool, as Gerald mentioned, they don't work only with the passwords, they work with the global security as well, different tools, different options, different features. Yeah, but from telling you to what to start with is, yes, to get the necessary tools. Like from my side, it would be a time management tool. And the key thing, what I usually say in the interviews or podcasts where I participate, is that to start, you need a tool that shows you the data, and you need data. So basically, you can start thinking about next steps only after you see the first initial data and start using the tool. So only then you can predict how to proceed. And from DeskTime perspective, from time management, from time tracking, let's start with seeing how many hours, Alvina, are you working daily?
Is that a question?
Weekly. It's a question. It's a question for everyone. Do we really know how many hours we work, and is it healthy?
Yeah,
all of them.
All of them. No, if that's a real question, I will pass that. I'll pass that question. I know how many hours I work just because I use DeskTime. I know how many hours my team's work is working. What I think is harder with working from home also, and tools definitely help, because when you see someone working, I think you can imagine how some people are extremely creative at pretending they're working. So time management systems really do work. But it's also harder, not harder, it's easier to understand whether people are maybe not burned out, but going that way because they spend so much time doing one task, comparing to how much time they spent previously. I think personally for me, that's a representation that they need to take some time off, or maybe, have their personal time, more personal time, take a holiday, whatever it is, just to become more productive and happier with themselves. Yeah. Okay. Gerald, what would you say companies absolutely need to do and people personally need to do now to be safer, cyber safe?
I would say in order to increase the cyber resilience and security of the organizations, firstly, every single one of us collectively as an organization, and as individual, we need to be a lot more security focused. The last couple of years, we're actually history defining. One thing we realized that this is something we're gonna live with in terms of exposure of the security, lacks of security that organizations has, and now we need to adapt to it. I mean, a good example was 2008 financial crisis, where what it did, it just exposed a rotten system around finance and lending and whatnot. Now is the same thing, where it's exposing organizations and the lack of focus around cybersecurity, including us as individuals, not just from the business perspective. So we do need to be a lot more focused around the security and start utilizing tools, again, individual level and organizational level. It is always easier to think that it will not happen to me, whether me as Gerald, none of it will happen to me. No one will steal my data. No one will take my identity. Or as the company, I work in security, and it's easy to think that, okay, it's happening. Leaks are happening to those organizations. Ransom attacks are happening to those organizations, and it won't happen to us. It can happen to any single one of us, regardless how big or small you are, or regardless how, if you're a business or an individual. So utilizing the right tools. For individual, I would say VPN is one of the biggest tools to have also to protect yourself and protect your traffic, protect your network. For the organization, network protection tools. So step up from VPN and having a more robust solution that would protect the network and actually implement firewalls and more for people that are actually working remotely. And then password management. I touched upon it briefly at the beginning. Password management solution is often overlooked, but it's one of the easiest tools to implement and probably one of the easier ways to increase, and I mentioned, drastically increase the cybersecurity and cyber resilience of the organization, because this way you'll be able to store your sensitive information, and Tom's touched upon it as well. And it's not just passwords we're talking about. We could be talking about text, notes, credit card details, and so on. So those are the type of tools that organizations must have. And beyond that, we need to understand what is two-factor authentication. A lot of times, let's say, even when personally we log into a Facebook account or any other personal login, we get prompted now to set up additional authentication. It could be a face scan, it could be a one-time password that we get, and we need to enter it over the span of 30 seconds. And as users, we often see that as a nuisance. It's not nuisance if it's protecting our data. And if anyone listening here would think it's nuisance and then suddenly they get their data breached, or organization's data get breached, I bet they would think I'd rather waste those extra 30 seconds having a secure way to log into my tools rather than lose the data altogether. And then at a personal level, I would say we need to be a lot more secure from phishing attacks, from fake emails coming in. Like we said at the beginning, 400% increase in fake emails coming in. And sadly, most of the people in the organization, they aren't tech savvy. They aren't IT people, right? So they get an email, could come from one of our colleagues or one of the tools that we use apparently, right? And then we click on the link and suddenly we expose our company's data. We should use one of the principles in network protection. Is a principle called zero trust network. So what it means that trust no one, verify everyone. So we could apply the same principle to our day-to-day life, right? Imagine you're receiving emails. Don't trust a single email unless it is fully legit and you verify. And there's some easy tricks, like even checking the sender and not just the name of the person, but click into the details and see what the email looks. And I get emails from my Amazon account probably few times a week at least, right? Asking to reset my password, or saying there's an outstanding payment of some sort. And if you check the sender's details, it's never going to be Amazon. It's going to be complete gibberish of an email domain, and automatically you can see that that's a risk. But email looks legit, so it's easy to click on it. So simple tricks, day-to-day tricks, that's what gets us. Ransomware attacks, it's not like there's a like we see in the movies, there's hacker working day and night and coding every night to gain access. No, it's actually it is sophisticated, but it is a lot easier to gain access into the organization or our data itself, or logins that we have, just by simply guessing our emails if the email is going to be unsafe. We actually released an article, we do it annually. It's called Top 200 Weakest Passwords in the World. And number one password is 123456. And sadly, that tendency is not actually improving. So we've been doing this report for the last 3 years, and the security of the passwords is still very unsecure, so I must say. And that's one of the things we should definitely focus on.
So it's still the most popular password. It's not even like QWERTY.
No, it's actually 123456. QWERTY, it is in top 10, but not the weakest. And 123456, it's the weakest password globally. So in most of the countries that we had the research and report combined and did together, it actually outlined that most of the countries have that password as the most common weakest passwords. And many of us probably been victims of it, like even me, creating password Gerald 1234, whatever, right? So this is the type of thing we need to change our habits about. I always say, the digital identity is the future, right, for us. And we need to make sure we protect it as much as we can. It's our intellectual property. And you wouldn't leave your home with the doors unlocked, right? You put a lock in, you make sure you have the key with you, double check, maybe you have extra keys somewhere or whatnot. We should do the same thing with our digital identity, making sure we have the doors there locked, right? And then we have 2FA, meaning we have multiple locks to unlock those doors. And that's how we can actually make sure that we stay as safe as we can.
Sure. Before I finish with my questions and we go to the comment section questions, I just want to remind whoever is watching that you are free to send us any questions, and both Thomas and Gerald will answer them. So use it. Use your moment. You will get an instant reply. Again, if that's a recording, you can ask questions. You'll probably just get your answer slightly later. So as a leader, as a company owner, as just a team lead, project manager, as I got it, what are the most important things to get right now is a time management tool. Start looking at how your team is performing, who can start to kind of burn out, deal with it before the person leaves, because when the person leaves, it's a lot of money. It's a lot cheaper. In terms of, it's both cheaper, easier, and I feel teams are happier when you have the same people around you rather than the always changing environment. And obviously do think about the cyber tools, protecting passwords, protecting, the company cloud or whatever. It can be like a media base. The question I have, a really quick question. I'm just really curious. The password solution is not the same thing as just the auto-generated password, like the complicated auto-generated password. It's a completely different solution, right? It's stronger, I assume. I'm sorry for asking this question. I have no idea what it is.
So passive management solution, it offers one of those features. So it is a lot more sophisticated than a place to store the password. It's a way for you to securely store the password with full end-to-end encryption, generate the password, check, get updates how safe it is for the organizational level, for instance. So Tom's in the organization, you can see statistics around the passwords in the company. Then you can track breaches if any of the breaches happen with the company domain anywhere outside in the dark web and whatnot. Then you have other tools like activities and grouping and sharing. You can have groups, and you can associate the password with a group where you have automated sharing of the password and so on. So there's a lot more than just a way to store the password. And you are right. One of those tools, especially for an organization, is password policies. It is big because what it does, it takes away control from the user, right? Because ultimately we should agree that users aren't the best people in the organization to decide for themselves how secure the password needs to be. So as an admin in the organization, I want to decide that. I want to decide that everyone in my company needs to create passwords that are at least 20-digit length, that have numbers in them, special letters and whatnot, special digits. And then I enforce that for everyone in the organization, and everyone that creates the password, they have autofill with the browsers and so on, and they have to create passwords that meet the policy standard that I set, including other great features for the companies.
Great, thank you for answering that. It's a lot clearer now. Tom, there's a question to you in the comment section, so I'm going to read it out for you. And for whoever will be looking at the recording, who's not here with us today. So the question is, before I start using tools, I think there should be common understanding within company why we're going to do that, track time, etc. What we want to achieve, etc. So question to Tom, how to motivate employees, support new changes, and be engaged and use those tools in daily working life?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's actually widely asked. So one of the key things definitely is that we need to understand why we want to use those, and we have to have those arguments. Whatever, is it a time tracking tool, time management, password security tool, car GPS tool, or HR tool, or whichever. So yes, we need to understand, and those managers or those who initiate the tool should explain why. And if this explanation is like fair enough and good for most of the people, then you should try it out and see if that works like that as it's imagined or not. If it's about time management, time tracking, or a tool like DeskTime, so yes, it's important for employees personally to use it. Secondly, to understand why it's being used and how it's going to be used for them, and important is that actually we need to explain how employees benefit from that. And the benefits start from, especially now, from working flexible hours, working hybrid work, that everything is in one place and no one will never blame you about that you haven't worked. The question of increasing efficiency or productivity or attendance or something is a little bit different. But the proof of work for myself, it's most important that I can start working at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., whichever, and I know that I can leave my desk at 2 p.m. or 3 p.m., and no one can blame me for that. In the same case, if we don't use any password managers as well, but the time tracking tools, time management tools, then there is no proof that I have worked, what I have done or something. Of course, there is a second part of that. If the job is done, I'm free to go. This is good enough as well. But then there is other questions that arise: how much time it takes to finish that job, and how do we bill to our clients and stuff like that, which all comes from the data from time tracking. So the benefits are many, but the question is we need to start with understanding the first motivation, the first thoughts, why we are thinking about such tool, or why the ad of this tool inspires us. So yeah, I hope I answered the question.
I think you did. In fact, when we started using time tracking, and people were like, well, it's slightly lame. I have to track every single project. Like, why do I have to do that? And that the single sentence of, well, it means that you are freer than you were before. You can, you can use your time as you want to. You can plan your time now. It does not matter for me as much as before that you are at the office or next to your computer from 9 to 6. You can actually plan your time, obviously ensuring that everything is done on time. Plus, it means that you're not overworking, and if you don't have time for anything, it does not mean that you now have to find time. It's just basically you showing, hey, look, what should I prioritize? That's what I have on my list. What should I prioritize so that I don't overwork? Because no one should obviously overwork. Great, thank you for answering. I think that was that definitely answered the question. Before I forget, because we only have 10 minutes left, for those of you who are with us, there are 2 offers, one from DeskTime and one from NordPass. And will we give the same kind of discount for those of people who will listen to the recording? Can they still contact you and get something special? Yeah?
Of course.
Amazing. So for those of you who does not see the chat, the comment section, because you're here with us, because you're participating in a slightly different way, but still participating, feel free to drop a note either to who they should drop to NordPass business, right? LinkedIn, saying, hey, thank you for the webinar. I know you have something, I would love to have it, and in some way or another, if you just mention webinar, the NordPass people will know what you're talking about. Same thing with DeskTime. Just mention that you watched the webinar. Say whether you liked it or disliked it, whether you're stressed, not stressed. We'll appreciate any kind of feedback, but DeskTime will also get back to you with some kind of nice offer. So that sounds really good. Because we only have 8 minutes left, what should anyone, 3 things anyone should take from this webinar? Gerald, I will start with you. 3 things you think people should take from this webinar, 3 most key points.
Think about security of your belongings, how you protect that, the TV, the laptop. Do the same thing with your digital identity and digital data itself also. So digital belongings of yours and your organizations also. So I think that's one of the most important aspects we should take away from it. Secondly, we should stop thinking that this will not happen to me, as it takes one time this to happen to any single one of us, and it could be devastating. It could be bankrupt related. It could have very drastic and bad consequences. That's number 2. And number 3, just reach out to companies. If you're a business, doesn't necessarily need to be Nord Security. Of course, reach out to us. We'll provide our tools to try out for free, but just explore, have a look around and be curious. That's probably number 3. So curiosity will help you stay resilient in ever-growing cyber attack environment now. And sorry to break it to you, this will not go anywhere. This is just, we're adapting, and that's how we're going to live. I'm not talking about COVID. I'm talking about the adaptation and the change of workforce and becoming a hybrid environment, a lot more sufficient and efficient in the organizations. And I think that's where the whole workforce is moving to anyway. So these are 3 points for me.
Thanks. Thomas, what about you?
Yeah, a little comment to Gerald, what he said about that's just the beginning. I just somehow thought about that this COVID, it's not COVID, but the COVID times, the pandemic just took us 5 years in the future. And if we are not here in our previous lives before the pandemic, we would be here in 5 years. So earlier or later, we need to do that. So this is the right time to do all the key things about thinking about cybersecurity in our lives out there inside the network. And also 3 things from my side is one thing would go for the business owners, team managers, and everyone like you, Alvina, and ourselves, that just think about your employees. Please think about your employees, about your business. Check their time management. Keep the quality of work the same, but also with the better work-life balance. Great if you are already managing the team with great and good work-life balance for them. I really appreciate that, and I'm happy to see that we try to do the same as in DeskTime. But also the second and third thing would go to employees about thinking about their time at work, about their healthy time they're working, and health itself. So please take breaks, regular breaks, and go outside, walk outside, and keep healthy. So this will benefit for all of us, for businesses, for employee health and work-life balance, and will reduce the burnout and our things that are now very, very, very on top of everything.
Amazing. Thank you. I think these 2 points, well, you had more points, but the biggest point for me is, care about your stress levels. If you're stressed, protect your computer, your business with cybersecurity systems and tools. Take care of your overall stress levels by, investing a bit of time into learning how to use time management tools. That will save you a lot more time, a lot of your money. Basically, take care of your stress and take care of your businesses, and you will be fine, right?
Excellent summary.
Amazing. Well, I'm afraid we ran out of time, but that was extremely interesting. I think people who listen to us today got a lot of useful information. Thank you, Gerald and Tom, for sharing all of this information. I'll repeat myself that whoever watched this webinar and whoever will watch it, don't be shy. Ask more questions. I am sure, I know DeskTime and NordPass will be happy to answer these questions, because we're all in this together. So don't be shy. Ask questions, and we'll get back to you with answers. So thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing all of this knowledge with us.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.